What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. So I was reading something the other day, and this guy Eric Gomez, that's with Ryan Garcia, he's saying that they reached out to Adrien Broner for his next fight, which should be coming soon. Don't have an actual date on that, but it's not important right now. For what I'm about to say, the reality of him fighting Adrien Broner, I really heard that and just felt like I wasn't even like, why? Right? I know there's Adrien Broner fan that's going, why not? Which I'll get into in a minute, but to each his own. Well, they said that Adrien Broner never got back to them. Now they're fighting this guy, Oscar Duarte, right, instead. Now Adrien Broner responded to that and said that he never got the message and was saying that he definitely would have took the fight. And okay, Oscar Duarte is not a well-known fighter, but he's a younger fighter, 27 years old. And I would rather see these guys fighting their primes and go in there and mix it up with guys that's up and coming like you, guys in your generation that is they still have that fight in them. I believe they chose Adrien Broner because they felt like, well, Adrien Broner, even though he's not nearly as big of a name as he could have been, and the name that he once even was, that there'll be interest in people going, yo, let me see what he's looking like now. And yeah, and he's going to have his fans that want to see him win as well. We saw what happened in his last fight, and he won, and he hasn't did anything since then. And, guys with Don King now, at least for that fight he was. And, it wasn't nothing to really talk about because it's like it was a weak opponent that he couldn't even get rid of. But he won the fight, okay, and that's what mattered. But you could clearly see how deteriorated his skills was. It's something about Adrien Broner fans, they don't see anything. Like it's not about taking shots at the guy. It's not about taking credit for him. It's about being honest about what you see. Adrien Broner is not elite, man. He's no longer an elite. He hasn't been an elite fighter for a long time, okay? And I believe that Ryan Garcia, his comeback, his comeback fight, yeah, let's get Broner, because at least he has a name. And there is some respect on his name for what he's done. But, when you take the fight to Adrien, he clams up. He doesn't let his hands go. He's not the same guy. Whenever you see a fighter showing up to everybody's fight except for their own, whenever you see a fighter that's always way above their fight weight, whenever you see a fighter that's all pot belly, just not in shape, and pretty much you don't ever see them training anymore, that's when a fighter basically becomes lazy. They basically gets to a point where they only show up for the paycheck. They only fight when they need money. Aside from that, there's no hunger, that desire, I want to be the best. No, he's the man right now. Okay, I got to beat him. That's not Adrien Broner. That's not him. So it's probably better that, Adrien claimed he didn't get the message. Nobody told him. If you really wanted that fight, you feel some kind of way. Like, why wouldn't y'all tell me that, right? What would the truth be? We didn't want you to get your ass beat. Why would you not tell your fighter, regardless of what you think, right? So unless you really felt some way like, nah, man, I think Ryan would tear his ass up right now, or whatever. Otherwise, why would you, what give you the right to keep me from my opportunity to go out there and fight and win? He didn't make any bones about it. I mean, I don't know what he did behind closed doors, but basically said he never knew anything about it. And I didn't see any videos of him speaking about it, anybody that he's associated with team-wise, and it's not a fight I would really want to see. Even though this guy Duarte is not well known, I still think it's better off that guys fight these guys that's in their generation, man. You beat Adrien Broner, it doesn't do anything for you. Now, the record books would just say you beat Adrien Broner, but Adrien Broner's stock has went down so low that it's like, okay, you were supposed to win. What does that do for you going forward, though? Iron sharpens iron. Adrien Broner, at this stage in his career, he's fighting on fumes. Was he 34 now? No, 35, maybe, whatever. What is he going to do now that he hasn't done already? Right? Like, what is he going to do? What is he going to do now? What more is he going to do than he's already done? You know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, even the fact that he fought the guy that he did going to 140, I told you guys, his name will be on that list, you know, as being, you know, a 140-pound fighter. But he's not in the mix of fighting anyone. I mean, you got all these guys. Look, Teofimo went to 140. Had, what, 2 or 3 fights already? 3 fights at 140. Ryan's about to have a fight at 140. Raleigh's had a fight at 140. You understand? And, you know, Raleigh, basically, he's there. And whatever was going on with Raleigh, I have no idea. But for Adrien Broner, he's come there, fought one time, and it's been super quiet. And the most that you get out of Adrien is him saying that he'll fight this guy, he'll fight that guy, but then it's like in between, he's not saying anything. You just see him either going to or coming from somebody's fight, giving his analysis on what he saw and what he thinks. But otherwise, that hunger's not there anymore. And so for Adrien, at some point, you just, everybody comes a time in your life where it's just time to walk away. Even you might still be on top of your game. But what's going on that you need to just keep getting in there and fighting a bunch of junk fights, putting, more abuse on your body, taking blows for what? You understand what I mean? So when you look at with Adrien, like, what is Adrien, what is left for him to do? Adrien right now is at a point where his name will be used to push an up-and-coming fighter. And he needs to be real careful with that. For all we know, Adrien knew what happened. Because, I mean, like I'm saying, how does somebody reach out to your team and they don't tell you that you got an offer? Y'all really believe that? Nah, I believe Adrien probably just wasn't interested because he's just not ready. Why would you not want to fight Ryan Garcia, right? Why would you not want to fight him? And that, or win over Ryan Garcia, will put him right, at least put him in a position of, oh shit, okay, he just beat Ryan. Well, shit, let's see what we can do with putting Adrien in there now with another top name, a Devin Haney, Devin's coming, up to this division now, getting ready to fight Regis Prograis. So your name would be in the mix. A lot of times when you got a big fight coming up, you look at who's not saying anything and you'll look to say, okay, let's see what this person does after this particular fight. Adrien Broner, he's not hungry anymore, man. And when he decides to hang it up is when he decides to hang it up. But he does the same thing. He's been doing this for years now. He'll fight once a year, disappear, nothing. And he says the same thing every time. I want to fight. I want to stay active. I want to get right back in there. But he never does. So, yeah, I think this guy Duarte, he's not a big name, of course. No, he's not. But for Ryan Garcia, and comeback fights are always, most of the time, for most fighters, a lesser opponent. But for Ryan Garcia to go in here now, fight this guy, if he takes care of business and win, what's next? I don't know. He'll probably start calling out Tank for a rematch. Does he look forward to the winner of Haney and Regis Prograis? Don't know. But part of my point is nobody is calling out Adrien Broner. Adrien Broner's not calling out anybody because people look at him like, okay, if they want to put this fight together, fine. But in terms of a serious threat, this is my point. You don't hear people calling his name out. Like as if, I want to fight this guy. Not because they're afraid of Adrien Broner and nothing like that. They just don't see him as relevant. And Adrien isn't calling any of these guys out. In fact, Adrien has had like 4 fights, right? Canceled. Like at least 4 or 5 fights before he finally had his last fight. And every time the opponent, it will be a different opponent. And it will be a lesser opponent. when you're trying to rebuild, right? Goddamn, how low down the totem pole do you want to go, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, I feel like they called him out for the reason that I said. He at least does have a name, and that, hey, we have him on our resume. You know, we go forward from there. And as for Adrien, what does it do for him? Because I don't think he beats Ryan Garcia. I don't think Adrien beats any top, really elite level fighter at 140 or at 135. And I don't think that he is as confident as his fanboys are. And I liked Adrien as a fighter, he's not what he used to be. And he hasn't been for a long time. And, from his first loss to Marcos Maidana, it's funny because y'all always talking this shit about how Anthony Joshua's never been the same since he lost to Andy Ruiz, even though this motherfucker went in there, won his rematch and became a 2-time unified champion. They never say the same thing about Adrien Broner. He's never been the same since he lost to Marcos Maidana, and that's a fact. That is a fact. But y'all never say that about Adrien Broner. But you say it about Anthony Joshua every chance y'all get, and it's like, okay, cool. This isn't tit for tat. I like both of them as fighters. But let's call a spade here. So I don't know what Adrien Broner is doing. And this is the thing. Aside from Ryan Garcia and this tweet with Eric Gomez, this conversation, this little shit I read the other day, my point, who's talking about Adrien Broner? If you're talking about Adrien Broner, it's about something comical or something foolish that he did, or again, just when you see him in front of the camera going to or coming from somebody else's fight and, give his opinion on who he thinks is going to win this fight or that fight type of situation. If Adrien, look, I'm not here to, I don't get in people's personal life, their finances and all that, that's their business. If he's good with money and he's not hurting for a big fight or whatever, only he knows that. But I just find it very difficult to believe that this man had an offer from this guy Gomez. And Gomez said they called, left messages and everything, and he just wasn't aware that, this guy, that this is money, man. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Personally, I still stand with what I said before. I think for Adrien Broner that at this stage in his career, like with what I've seen him produce, you don't want to give him the top guys. You want to preserve him where if he have another fight with a guy the same level as his last opponent, because people, they overlook your opponent when they really like you so much. So if you go in there and demolish a guy that's basically a meatball, well, it's only a matter of time before they saying you versus one of the top guys. At least that way, when he get his ass whooped, he got a nice big payday. As well as whatever money he collected in the junk fights. Because Adrien is done, y'all. And when I said this before, people, nah, man, how you going to say that? With my lips, my tongue, and my damn mouth, he's done. He's not the same fighter. There will be no shock fight. All of a sudden, he comes back and knocks out an elite guy. Adrien's done. And this is why he's not fighting elite level guys. And this is why he's not fighting Ryan Garcia right now. Like, come on, y'all. Y'all really believe that? Do y'all really believe that story? That he actually just wasn't aware that Team Ryan Garcia reached out for him for a fight? Really? And as many fights as he's already had that was basically canceled. And now here you are. This is your way back in. An elite guy. The same guy that just fought Tank and they drew 1.2 million, right? And pay-per-view buys. You wouldn't want to be in that ring with that same guy now? Because even though him versus you, more than likely is not going to do 1.2 million, right? But whatever it does, you are part of this fight. You're going to get a big payday. And you not feeling some kind of way because you missed out on the big payday? I'm just saying. That I find very hard to believe. That, just imagine you put in for a job. You get a call for an interview, and your wife or your husband, male or female, whoever's watching, and sit there and all of a sudden you don't get a call back and you don't think about it, right? And all of a sudden 4 or 5 months later, somebody go, oh yeah, a while ago, you got a call from such and such, but I forgot to tell you. You'd feel like, what? Right? You've been waiting for this call. Now, it's different in the sense of them reaching out to him. So they're making an offer to him, right? But for him to say, y'all get the point of what I'm saying, right? You know what I mean. The fact that someone was aware of this call back but didn't bother to let you know that. And this is a job you wanted. So what I'm saying, why would you not want to fight Ryan Garcia? Right? So, out of shape, not ready. You understand what I mean? And Eric Gomez didn't say that he talked to Adrien Broner. He said that, they never responded. But he called, left messages. And fighting junk fights to get back. No, you fight junk fights to secure that you don't lose again. And then now you get that call for that big fight. Like I said, so you get your ass whooped. Guess what? Okay, I made big money off of this. Made some good money a couple of fights prior. So I just can't imagine that this guy reached out to you, left messages and everything, and somehow you or your team are just so busy that you overlook the business at hand. That's what you do. You're a fighter. You want to get in there and fight guys, but you want to fight the top guys. And again, can you imagine Tank Davis? He went in there and he stopped Ryan Garcia, broke his will, made him kneel down and quit. He bowed down and quit. Now all of a sudden, here you are, Adrien Broner, in a position of trying to get back. You got a lot of people that want to see you get back. Yeah, your stock has dropped, but you get in there and all of a sudden, you wind up stopping Ryan Garcia. You imagine that? All of a sudden, oh, yo, Adrien's back. And you want to know, even if it was a decision. But I say, just imagine, but he goes in there and he stops Ryan. Right? That puts him right back in a position of, yo, now people want to fight Adrien because he looked good. He just stopped Ryan Garcia, whose only loss was against Tank Davis. And now, guess what? You're in that position of Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez. You understand what I mean? More big paydays on top of that. Adding to your legacy. Because every time Adrien steps up and fights an elite fighter, he loses. And that's just what it's been. Since the Marcos Maidana fight, yeah, he has never been the same. And every time he's gotten there with another elite guy, not only does he lose, but it's not even competitive. You understand what I'm saying? So I just feel like Adrien, he probably ignored that call on purpose because I don't understand how you responded to this tweet, but you never knew that they reached out to fight you. You know how much money you just missed out on? You understand what I mean? So I believe that if anything, he avoided that call. He didn't want to fight against Ryan Garcia. And pretty much what he has planned, I have no idea. But it's like I told y'all. He's not the same. He's done. That's just what happens. He's done. I've said the same thing about many fighters, and every time I've said it, that's the case. They're done. They will no longer get big wins. When I said it about Roy Jones, and I was going with Roy no matter who Roy fought. But when I seen him, it wasn't because he got knocked out by Tarver. When he got knocked out by Tarver, I looked at it like that punch came out of nowhere. But even the way Roy squared up and stood there after he threw that uppercut, it was just like, okay, it got my attention because it's like Roy's legs don't look the same, man. I'm noticing, because remind you, he fought against Ruiz. And, he moved a little more. Every time he clinched, he walked behind the ref, just by. He fought that fight so smart, so brilliant. But then when he fought Tarver in the rematch, with the weight loss and everything, I looked at, he won that fight. And he was sucking for air. And I'm like, okay, what kind of condition will he be in the rematch? And even though he was winning that first round and the second round with no problem, he still did it flat-footed. So I'm like, okay, I'm watching. Now, the punch came out of nowhere. You know when I knew Roy wasn't going to be the same? I'm going to give you 2 times. After that fight in the dressing room, Roy said everything other than, man, the punch came out of nowhere. Caught me with a good shot, man. You know? He was sitting there with Alton Murchison, and he was saying things like, I just like hard for me to get myself up for these guys because like, I don't know what they got to beat me with. They watch me, but I don't really watch them. I don't know them. I can't really get up for these guys. Then, been doing something for so long, and sometimes you wake up like, what you doing this for? And everything other than he just lost the fight. So it's like he was wrestling with himself. And I remember watching it thinking like, Roy is done. Just from that interview, from his own words. When you lose and it gets to the point you're trying to find everything other than just to admit you just got knocked out. Simple. You got dropped. You got up, but he got on his feet. He was, on the ref. Okay. That's it. Everything other than, he caught me with a great shot. That shit it came out of nowhere. I didn't see the shot coming. Better man tonight. So when you start questioning yourself and doubting yourself and saying all these things, it's like you saying all of that, all happened was he landed a shot, man. That's it. It's not like he went there and got beat the fuck up, then got knocked out. No, you was winning the fight, then you got dropped. And so when he fought Glenn Johnson, in that interview that he did before the Glenn Johnson fight, that ain't happening no more. And, standing in the camera, and he sounded real convincing to the people watching. He came out to the ring hollering, springing up on his legs, jumping around. The crowd went crazy. And when that bell rung, and Glenn Johnson came running across the ring, and Roy Jones started taking backward steps and just laid on the ropes. And like a whole minute went by before he finally threw a punch. I was like, Roy's done, man. I was just sitting there watching, like, he's done. My partner's like, yo, nah, come on, man. Yo, Roy got this. I'm just watching. And when he starts throwing punches, Glenn Johnson stops punching. And Roy didn't do enough of much of anything. And when you see Roy Jones using the jab and moving, you don't see him catching you with that sneaky right hand out of nowhere. You don't see them looping uppercuts and hooks real quick. It's like, no, he's not even fighting the same. And I'm watching him. And I'm looking at just everything. Even defensively, how he was moving and how he just kept standing on ropes. And I'm like, his legs is gone. And that was a big part of Roy's arsenal, was being able to get in and out of harm's way with his legs. And I'm like, he's done. Best case scenario is if he can put a combination together and get Glenn Johnson out of here, because I'm watching this and Glenn Johnson keeps coming. And Roy is not able to discourage him. You understand what I'm saying? And as slow as Glenn Johnson was, and the fact that Glenn Johnson's not even a big puncher, and I think it was, I think maybe I'd say third or fourth round, where I'm like, I could just see, even though Roy was trying to win, he looked desperate. And I'm like, Roy is done. He's done. And I said that shit. I got up. I'm watching the fight, but I remember going around in my house doing some stuff. I come out, sit back down, and my partner's like, yo, damn, I think you're right, man. And I'm just watching. You never know what could happen in the fight. You never know. Even if he would have landed a shot and got him out of there, my analysis still would have been, Roy is not the same dude, and he's fighting more desperate now than he is smart. You understand what I mean? And it's a difference. And he winds up getting knocked out by Glenn Johnson. I'm watching Adrien Broner, no different. I can see where Adrien Broner, we all can see where he hasn't been the same fighter for a very long time now. But his fan base keep trying to make excuses. And, it's like trying to keep hope alive. You have to tear a fighter apart just because you're telling the truth. The guy is done. And so when you pass up an opportunity like that to get back in there and to fight, this is your get back fight, man. Do y'all understand that? This could have been his get back fight. Ryan Garcia. Don't come up 2 months from now, Adrien Broner comes back at 140 against number 45 ranked Tony Turkey. We don't want to see him versus Tony Turkey, right? I understand he should fight Tony Turkey. I don't know if there's a fight named Tony Turkey. I'm just making that shit up. I'm just saying. Okay? Because again, you need to preserve him as long as you can. So if he gets that call again, let's just say, okay, let's say, for example, now he just said he wasn't aware. So let's just say Ryan Garcia beats this guy, Oscar Duarte, and then goes, hey, Adrien, what's up? You gonna miss that call too? This is my point. Tony Turkey is not your way back in. This fight is. And I believe that he didn't want this fight. Because he know he loses, it's completely over. Anyway, y'all, talk to me in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people. And I will catch y'all in the next video.